11:30 we want to get, we have another meeting, so. Oh, okay, so we're live now, I believe. We're all set, okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Senate Transportation Committee. It's Wednesday, March 1st, a brand new month. And we're going to continue our discussion this morning on bike safety programming. We've been talking about this a little in the last week or two, and we're going to continue our discussion. It's an interesting subject, and I know there's been a lot of folks concerned, and I, for one, try to do something to keep our bicyclists safe, especially now that we have more electric bikes coming on the market. And so with that, I guess we'll turn it over to John. John, good morning.
All right, good morning, Senator. For the record, John Kaplan. I work with V-Trans. I'm the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. And I've been in that position since 2009, so I have kind of a long history.
I might add, just excuse me, I think we have a couple online this morning that are ill. I think Senator Kitchell, Senator Perchlik, I think they're joining.
They're both on. They're both on.
They're both on. Okay, good. Anytime you have a question, either senator, go right ahead, jump in and ask it. So sorry, go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna get things started, and clearly you got a pretty clear message from this committee that with your concerns about the kind of level and type of bike safety education that's being provided, and that's actually given us a good kind of opportunity to one of the things we've been doing over the last couple of weeks is try to just like take stock of what is out there currently for education. And one thing in particular, which I know we've mentioned to you, and I have kind of a draft copy of it, which we'll look at a little bit later, is just taking stock of like the existing laws and how things differ from like bicycle to the e-bike, different classes of e-bikes, motor assisted bicycles. There's a lot of different classifications within the statutes. So we have like a table where we tried to summarize that and some of the differences. So it's a good chance to look at that. And one very key partner in all of this is Local Motion, which is our statewide bicycle and pedestrian advocacy organization in Vermont. And they really are on kind of the boots on the ground, providing a lot of the bike safety education. And they work closely with communities, so they're in kind of a good position to do that. And so we work together to try to, Christina, their new executive director, is going to present a summary of what we found. Like, here's the current sort of efforts around bike safety education, but we're also looking at, where could we where are the gaps or whatever that we could, where we can improve on things. And another thing that we actually had identified in our Bike Ped strategic plan, which was just updated in 2021, is to, but this whole look at safety is pushing this along a little bit, is to pull together kind of a coalition of groups, including Local Motion, the health department, the bike shops, other highway safety advocates, to give us some input on bike safety efforts and other things having to do with bike and pedestrian transportation. So we're just getting started on that process. But and so one thing we're also looking at, because the budget that is being considered right now, the FY24 budget, was already put together. So we are looking at what can we do within the funding that's in that budget already. But also we're kind of looking at this more long-term as well. Like, I think we've already identified some things that we would build into the budget for FY25, that we would see next year. And I think this all fits well into kind of where we're going with bike and pedestrian issues at the agency in general, which is to kind of more have those issues kind of institutionalized into all different parts of the agency. So it's not just dependent on like one person or one position. So it's considered in, design, maintenance, our project selection process, all of those things. So yeah, that sort of just sets the stage, I think, and Christina has some slides to go through that will kind of summarize where we're, what we've found in terms of the current efforts, and where are some things that we could improve. And definitely would be interested on your feedback, of course, on what we present.
Well, that's good. We're making progress. That's good. It's an interesting subject, and I know it wasn't going to be easy, but thank you for getting involved and starting together with Local Motion. It's really helpful. So,
yeah,
like I said early on, we don't want to restrict bikes. We want to help them. We want to make it safe and the best we can do. I just felt it was time to have a little safety.
No,
I didn't realize DNC has done so much on bikes anyway. They have a good background knowledge, so that gave us a good start, and with Christina with them. So okay.
Yeah, I think we've got the good, like you just said, we've got a great foundation.
Yep.
So just need to kind of build on that.
Okay.
How many more days, John?
I'm not counting down days yet.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. I have 7 weeks after this one.
Oh, there we go. When nobody's counting.
Right.
Thanks, John.
Sure. Morning, Christina.
Good morning, everyone.
Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you. Very nice to be in this room today.
Sun is shining and it won't be long, it'll be bike time.
That's right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's nice to be here. My name is Christina Erickson, and I'm the new Executive Director of Local Motion. I started the beginning of January, so I'm still learning a lot, but very excited to be here with our partners today. And fair warning, I've got some information. I did bring a couple of copies of the slides printed out. I hope that you were able to get a digital copy if you wish. But if you wish to follow along that way, we can do that.
Okay.
And we'll make it available as you need.
Yep.
So we've heard your concerns about bicycle, in particular e-bike safety, and I'm here to let you know that we hear you and that we deeply care about safety. It's front and center of our mission. So the bicycle safety package that we're talking about today was developed in partnership with our VTrans partners, is intended to bolster both VTrans and Local Motion's bike safety education and outreach efforts to both adults and children. So first, a bit of context. There are definitely more e-bikes out in our community. Vermont's e-bike rebate program was very successful. The program launched with $92,000 in rebates available in July 2022 and ran out within 3 months. It's showing a high demand for clean and accessible transportation solutions.
Senator Chittenden was one of the first to buy it. He never got a rebate.
I never got
a rebate.
Well, you had to submit for it.
Next time.
We still hold $50.
Demand was especially high from lower income consumers, and with 66% of the funding going to the enhanced rebates because it was a spectrum depending on income level. So it's great. It's really exciting, and we hope, and I think it aligns with the 2023 transportation equity framework that I know is a big effort of VTrans. So we're hoping that that rebate program will definitely continue, and we'd love to see it expand, actually. So this is a chart that I don't expect you to look at, but this just is the reminder, and our VTrans partners have a printout of this for you, to just remind everybody that there is a wide spectrum of e-bikes, and I think John used the word conveyance, but I was like, what are they? They're all two-wheelers, you know, things like motorcycles and formerly known as mopeds and segways and other things that use 2, sometimes 3 wheels, but are not, you know, cars or those types of vehicles. So there is a wide spectrum of these, and of potentially particular notice of our e-bikes. There are 3 classes of e-bikes The only one that currently has a minimum age restriction is the Class 3 e-bike, and you have to be at least 16 years or older to operate one of those. It can go a maximum of 28 miles per hour, but only with pedal assist. You have to be pedaling for that additional mileage to motor you along. So that is one that I know will take a little time to digest, and we can certainly come back and John and Kevin can certainly discuss any of the intricacies of that chart as we go forward.
Christina,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
If I can,
Please.
V-Trans. Senator Mazza, this is one of those things that when you and Michelle and I sat down one day, we talked about just getting a summary of what's currently on the books for laws.
Yeah.
And then, as Christina mentioned, we'll come back at a later time,
From there.
maybe next year, we'll work together over the summer and come back with a little bit of a comprehensive look at where we may see improvements. But this is one of those things that you would ask for that we want to make sure that we
Just
got
so
before you.
what we have now.
Existing conditions, yeah, great,
Sorry,
thank you.
Christina.
No, thank you very much.
So this is what we have presently now, this sheet.
That is a summary of all of the different types of two to three wheelers, if you will, and any related regulations.
When it says like motor assisted boat, class E, same as bicycle, same as bicycle, same as bicycle, what does that mean?
John?
Yes, go ahead.
So, yeah, so motor assisted bicycle under the column, other equipment required. Any of those, like motor assisted bicycle and the three classes of e-bikes, it's the same as a bicycle. So bicycle, the language in state statute about other equipment for bikes, there is some language about brakes, which I put under the bicycle column or row rather. And for all those other types of bikes, it's the same. It's not a different, in other words, there's no extra equipment requirements. Whether same with the lights. So regular bicycle has to have.
What is it on bicycle?
I've got it.
It's the, if you look at the row that says bicycle, where it's the one, two,
Oh, yeah.
third one down.
Third one, oh yeah,
So
bicycle,
other
I see.
equipment, brake that enables the operator, that's literally what this.
Okay, break it, it was operating, break it.
And then I put the,
Okay.
I tried to kind of summarize for the
I didn't
lights.
see that, yes. Okay. All right, okay, yeah.
So
Anybody just jump in and get a question, please.
So it's always useful to me to see, especially Vermont being a small state, how we compare to other states. Is that something that you're going to be presenting on, or that we'll hear how these restrictions on age, license required, registration, helmet varies across our 50 states?
Not necessarily today, but I did find a chart that kind of addresses that on a more statewide level that I could share afterwards, certainly. And you all might have something.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the intent, Senator, of this is our existing conditions over the course of
Where we go
this,
from here.
over the course of this next year is to work together with our partners and reach out. I'm on a couple of national committees on non-motorized transportation, those kinds of things. This is actually a format that we borrowed, if you will, from Pennsylvania. So absolutely, we'll be looking to kind of compare best practices, if you will, from across the country.
Yeah, okay.
Senator Mazza,
Yes,
I had a question on this chart for the minimum age for the class 3 e-bike, you know, the 16 plus. Is that on purchase, on operation? What is that exactly?
I could try, I mean, if you, in the definition for class 3 e-bike, it says, I believe it says, may only be operated by those 16 and older. I think we did a little bit of investigation into whether there's any, to my knowledge, there's no like fines, or I think the sort of the regulatory side of that is not very clear.
And did you say it may be?
Well, the regulatory part of it is, I don't think that's defined in statute.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So I think where Senator Persick is going is kind of where I'm going as well. So I shop at a place called Costco on a regular basis, and there are bikes there. And this is from last month, 2 e-bikes. And on the box, I can try to bring this up. This one is 12 plus, so it says recommended age, and the other one's 14 plus. But you're saying the manufacturers are making suggestions. This one just says 14 years plus old. But we as a state aren't putting any restrictions on e-bikes. But there are manufacturer recommendations for these e-bikes.
That's a good question. I don't know if that applies to like the size of it or, you know, ability to operate. That's a good question.
It must be going by some kind of federal standards or something, right? I mean, Costco, I mean,
Or maybe by standards for them to protect themselves against litigation
Yeah, that's,
along the way.
I'm thinking about safety.
they gotta follow something, they got some kind of storage. so-
Andy's, go ahead, Andy.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I looked into it a little bit and looked at California's law. Anthea did some work on it on this as well, but I think Senator Ingalls is right that I think why those companies list ages on the boxes is just what their liability lawyers told them to put on there. It's not based on any federal regulations. They might be doing it to meet some regulations in certain states, but I think it's, you know, there was a tragic accident in California that was with a 12-year-old, and so I think you know there's been a lot of lawsuits around who's responsible. So I think that's why you see some of that on there, is just so that they can say, hey, we told you not to let your 12-year-old ride it, but there really isn't any regulations other than what the states might be doing.
So I hear that, but what I'd come back to is that that's grounded in a reality that 12-year-olds don't know how roads function, and that how it is to when it's slippery, when it's icy, when it's dark, and what speeds they can accelerate and go further. So I think it's grounded in something that's worth this conversation.
Well, and I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think that this is why we're having that conversation, is to try to get this to the point of, you know, what type of regulation do we want to put on there based on what we're learning today and as we move forward. So, yeah, I think it's very valuable.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Senator Chittenden. I wasn't saying that as a reason not to do it. I was saying that there isn't any other federal regulation, that it's kind of whatever the manufacturer says. There are some standards, but they're not required. They're like guidelines, is my understanding, as far as the safety components of the e-bike, especially the Class 3 e-bikes.
I would think other states are gonna go through the same process of trying to figure it out, because it is gonna be a big issue, which is great. I mean, electric bikes, we want to encourage them, but they're gonna be faced with the same situation of what they enforce and what they don't enforce. And if somebody gets hurt or God knows not killed, but someone's gonna have to face reality and figure out what we're doing wrong. Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, Senator, this is exactly what we're talking about, is in terms of, and Michelle Boomhauer and I were talking earlier this week, late last week, about wanting to kind of come back and take a comprehensive look, because over the years, the technology has changed, and, you know, there may have been a law passed for e-bike Class 3, there may be a law passed for this portion of bicycle. What we're hoping to do is really work with our partners and take that best practice looking and then come back and work with you and say, this is what we found, you know, and maybe take a more comprehensive look at what those opportunities are, rather than some of the ways that we've done it over the years of, okay, now there's this class of e-bike, what do we need to do here? Let's go back and look and see where the technology may change on some of the early technology for e-bikes, and just using e-bikes as an example.
Well, that was my only concern, is try to get us up to speed of it's a new item, it's brand new. We just started talking about, we weren't talking about this a couple of years ago.
And I think this is exactly the type of conversation that we've asked for, because I don't think it's a secret, and Christina and I appreciate you recognizing it, that I don't know that we felt like we did have a partnership and before, and it seems like now we're in the right direction. And we don't want to be the ones that make these decisions based on what we think we know. We really want you guys to make the decisions. We really want a partner who is really concerned, what we feel is really concerned about safety. And we're as much going to learn about where this direction is going to go from what you guys work out amongst yourselves and come back to us and say, hey, this is what we found. This is what we think is reasonable. And I think already the conversation's headed in the right direction where we think that we've been heard and will continue to be heard. So it's an important discussion to have.
And I'll just round that out by saying, you know, we're very much paying attention to the national landscape, and four of us from Local Motion are soon to attend at the end of the month the League of American Bicyclists Conference, and there are they're talking about this. Everybody's talking about this. So we'll be learning from that and share our learning with all of the partners to keep an eye on
They
it.
said we tried this a year ago, but they said it wasn't a problem, but we don't want to wait till it's a problem. So thank you for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so I'll continue and give an
Okay, go ahead.
example
Yep.
of some of the new things and existing things that we want to do. So with all of the new e-bikes out there, the first aspect of our plan is to develop educational materials specifically targeted to e-bike users, working with our friends in the bicycle shops in Vermont. So there is a new consortium forming of bicycle shops, so we can provide this information for them to distribute to their consumers. These handlebar tags, and this is purely a draft of what it'll look like, but to be part of a broader package of safety materials that would be available, that would highlight key bike safety laws and best practices, and they can go right on the handlebars, you know, when they're purchased or at the shops and distributed there. However, not everyone is purchasing them at a bike shop. Perhaps it's Costco, perhaps it is a Consumer Direct, which actually most of the rebates were purchased directly, which unfortunately means there's not that point of sale opportunity for education. But anyone who utilized the rebate program, we have their contact information, or the state has it, I should say, and we can funnel the information to them through that way. And so this is something we have funding for. We don't need any additional funding at this time. We are hoping that this is a pretty short turnaround project that we can just implement by the spring. We will create the content and coordinate with the bike shops, and VTrans is assisting in printing and distribution. And we're using our existing behavioral safety unit grant from the State Highway Safety Office to work through this particular project. Something else that we do and would like to continue and expand upon are our vulnerable user safety, public safety announcements. So we have a library of videos that we have already created that have an educational perspective on roadway users and roadway safety, such as fabulous titles, and I'm sure you've seen them all. You can collect them all with your friends. How to ride your bike around buses, and how to deal with road debris. Not that there's ever any road debris, but you know, sometimes there is. So with production assistance from VTrans, we'd love to add a few more to the library, such as how to safely pass a vulnerable road user. So you can imagine we have a dashboard camera and there's someone driving a car and they're coming upon a cyclist on the side of the road, and there's also an oncoming car. What do I do? So walking people through that. And for the e-bike user, how to safely ride an e-bike. So these existing videos we can promote through various platforms, and potentially even recreate some of them for audio mediums as well, for radio or other distribution that way. This is a project we see over the next year with some, we'll consult on the content and assist with promotion. VTrans has video production capabilities, and potentially we can think about some possible paid placements for wider distribution. And for us, this is also, again, covered by that behavioral safety unit grant, which is good. And these have been very popular. We've made a lot of them. My staff prior years made a lot through the COVID years as a COVID project, and they've become very useful to keep in that library. Something that Local Motion has done through the years and continues to evolve and expand are different bike safety workshops and other kind of outreach methods. So in Burlington, and I am a resident of Burlington, I have been since 2006 and ride my bike regularly and walk. So we have an annual program for UVM students in particular, and sometimes we do one with Champlain and are open to other colleges as well, focusing on bicycle safety and etiquette, where we distribute lights, and those are paid for through a grant. And then the university has actually purchased the locks. And so we have, and that has drawn actually a sizable amount with over 100 students showing up to those workshops, especially unfortunately with the recent uptick of bicycle theft. That is a very popular topic of how to safely lock one's bicycle.
That's when they go to a place that has a bike rack or something. Is that-
As a bike rack, and showing the different ways how to do it. You know, don't just put it on your front tire, because the front tire can be taken off. Put it around multiple parts of the bicycle. Not putting it on a wooden rail, because wooden rails can be sawn and taken off. Not using a flimsy lock, because those can be chopped and taken off very easily. So
Do you see
unfortunately,
more businesses going to put bike racks outside?
oh, we certainly hope so.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
and they are.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I see them at the mall where they used to have those rental bikes when they're gone.
Yep.
So that's where you at the mall, you go up there and I guess you walk into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ground to the ground.
Yep, and so that's something that Local Motion offers is consulting to businesses and towns and areas on how and where to best put bike racks, for example. We have a series of visual awareness campaigns that we provide to both drivers and bicyclists to being safe while using roadways. And we have started to, and I think this is a potential expansion of incorporating vulnerable user safety into driver's ed courses. So this has been happening on a small scale so far, but we would love to explore with the DMV how it could be an embedded part of the curriculum for everyone taking driver's ed. Oops, don't you love when
Do you
other
see
things pop up?
any time in the future that when you buy an electric bike, you would have to take a safety course? You ever see that happening, or providing a video? I'm just wondering if that's in the forecast.
That's a good question, and I'm glad you're not seeing what I'm seeing, because I know other
Yeah,
stuff just
okay.
popped up.
I'm just throwing these questions out. when I think
Yeah,
about it.
I don't know. That's something to keep on the radar screen.
I don't mean they have to get a driver's license or a license. I just
Mhm.
mean, are they mandated, so to speak, to take some sort of a safety or an overview of the bike? And I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I don't know the logistics or feasibility of that, but
So I could say things I've said before, only because we have a new visitor. So I have two daughters. One's 15 years old and she had to get a permit to drive, and it was an online test. And so she did her studying and she went through it. It was never had to go in, and we paid $52 for it. And I would see a world where I would support, and I'd love to know about Local Motion for 16 and under, for under 16-year-olds, and to do something similar online. So very low cost, low marginal cost to the DMV, where I have to watch videos and just know the rules of the roads and e-bikes and so on. I'd be interested, after you do more research into this, if any other states are looking at, we're just talking about under 16-year-olds, that before they can operate an e-bike on our roadways, if they had to go through an online module, that those things are very popular. They're very easy to stand up, and then they can also be a revenue generator. We can make a little money on it. So I'm intrigued to know more if other states are doing anything like that for e-bikes.
yeah, we can certainly look into it and learn more about that as a possibility.
I like fees too. So
So examples of some of our bike safety workshops, our very popular Bike Smart education program, and I'll go into that a little more specifically down the road, but we've reached over 10,000 children each year in teaching them how to ride a bike safely.
Now, where you do that at schools? or-
At schools, at after-school programs, parks and rec programs, but primarily at schools. Directly at the PE teachers actually will, we provide the content and they will deliver the program, which is excellent.
So every school has access to this?
Every school has access to it. We are not able to currently serve every school because we just don't have the capacity. It's a big undertaking and a lot of moving bicycles around,
That's right, that's a lot of.
but we've got ideas for that.
Just thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, that's great. Other programs that we do are very popular walk or bike to school days, and we have over 60 schools participating in these types of programs. In this last year, actually, during COVID, when there wasn't a lot of, return to school post-COVID, there wasn't a lot of extra programming going on. Teachers, families, everyone was feeling very at their maximum capacity. We had over 35 schools participate in our walk to or bike to school day, some holding multiple events.
I like that school walking and rolling group.
Yeah, and that's fun. And so having fun signage to draw attention, the kids get into it, families get into it, hopefully other people notice these. So we have some fun signage that promotes the message that we're aiming to. And so we've had other signage in buses. These are examples of past efforts. We don't currently have these in the buses, but they were just in Chittenden County, but we'd love to work with GMT to make sure there's safety ads for multiple road users in the buses. It's a nice place where people can get a message like that. And some of our other yard sign series that have gone up in different places, including these additional other yard signs that are kind of passed with care. So it's a whole series, different people, different roles and identities that they hold. So we see that everybody, we would love to feel that everybody feels that they are able to be on a bike and are recognized as bike riders.
One person asked me last month, or they said, well, if we have electric motorcycles and we are mandated to wear a helmet, but yet the electric bike doesn't, and is that a thought that's good to consider? How does that work?
That's another one where I believe, we encourage helmet use, regulating it. Other states that's drawn attention, unfortunately, in the wrong way. But it is, we encourage helmet use.
Yeah, but I'm just referring to the bicycle people or motorcycle people say, I have to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
And yet you got a bike that goes 30 miles an hour. You don't have to wear a helmet. That's just a question.
And I want to add to that because we have in the motorized vehicle section of it on off-road vehicles where most of those trails are 35 and below, in self-contained side-by-sides with roll cages, seat belts, and the whole 9 yards. They're mandated to wear helmets as well. And so I think that might be something that we might want to take a closer look at. That'd be something that I certainly would have a concern about.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Any questions on the screen? Jane, are you with us this morning? Probably not.
I'm listening.
Any questions?
No, I'll be intrigued about the video that tells you how to, when you've got a vulnerable user and another car coming the other way, what you're supposed to do, other than slow right down, but it should be interesting.
I figure you've got your electric bike ordered, haven't you, Senator Kitchell?
Yeah, well, that and my automated snow shovel.
That's a good one. That would be popular.
We'll work on a video for that too. That could be fun.
Go ahead, Senator.
To bring it back to that previous point and also to my earlier ones, which is one senator would support requiring 16 and unders that would drive an e-bike on our roadways to have to wear a helmet. I mean, that's something that just seems sensible to me, and I would support such legislation until individuals like yourself tried to convince me that we should require kids to wear helmets on e-bikes.
Fair enough. Good. Yeah, we'll look and see what other states are recommending also and doing, and seeing to what degree of success they have. Or
Okay.
So Safe Routes to School is another significant program that we run, and this includes things like our Bike Smart and Walk Smart program. This is a national program that aims to help students be safe while walking and biking to school, and their families and caregivers. So Vermont Safe Routes to School is part of the VTrans Bicycle and Pedestrian Program, and we are both Local Motion and VTrans are official partners of the National Safe Routes Partnership. And so a lot of the 6 E's that you see here are part of that national curriculum, if you will. So focusing on education, which is done through our Bike Smart and Walk Smart program. Evaluation, which we do and have the schools do a fair amount of data collection about their walk and participation. Engineering, which do things like travel plans and walk audits and pop-up demonstrations. It focuses on equity, ensuring access for everyone to be involved. Encouragement through fun events. We've got one coming up called the Muddy Boot Award. You can imagine when that takes place. And then through engagement, meaning including the larger community in all of these efforts.
Christine, is there, excuse me, a locomotion, are they statewide or just?
We are statewide, so it is something that started just in Burlington,
Oh,
of
it
course,
is
with the bike path and the ferry, but we now reach all corners of the state.
Oh,
And in fact, these programs happen in all 14 counties currently.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I thought it was just Burlington.
Nope, we're everywhere in Vermont.
Well, no, that's good. So you have people that,
Yeah, so we actually hire regional coordinators for the Safe Routes to School program. We've got 4 currently and we have capacity to hire more to be the contacts on the ground with the schools, with the families, people who know the folks there to help set up these events and to be there to support them.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah. So right now we have 62 schools participating in Safe Routes to School. And I just, a few quotes from participants, which I just think it's so fun to hear from the participant perspective. So here's one from Thetford Elementary School. Many families reported continued bike usage outside of school and new bike ownership went up as well. Additionally, many families started biking together on trails in our area and around the school. Someone from Virgins Elementary School said, we have had more students continue to walk throughout the school year on their own without being the first Wednesday of the month, which is when they would do their annual or monthly event. And then Swanton Elementary School said, we walked whole schools, 600 plus students and 100 plus staff. Students saw physical activity as a reward. I just thought those were really telling of how impactful this program can be throughout the state. So this is a program that we would love to at least maintain and increase the positive impact that this program offers. So we are currently delivering this programming and coordinating that with our regional coordinators as well through the Safe Routes to School funds from VTrans that were some remaining funds. These funds, however, run out this coming December, so kind of mid-fiscal year, mid-state fiscal year. There is new federal guidance that allows Safe Routes to School programming to benefit high school students as well as K through 8. So that is a change. So we could actually expand participation to include high school students. However, this is something where our staffing levels, we're at capacity. So we have 62 schools participating. We just don't have the staffing to expand currently. So this is where expanding would require some more funding through the modes that we have currently. And a little more on that. If we kind of maintain or level fund the school, the Safe Routes to School program, which includes Bike Smart and Walk Smart, we would need to have the current funding that's at about $100,000 per year would need to be maintained. We would need that to maintain the program, or ideally in the next couple of 1 to 2 years out, increase the funding of the program, which would allow us to have a full-time Safe Routes to School coordinator, more regional coordinators, adding things like adaptive bikes. Not everyone is able to ride a 2-wheeled bike, but it's fun to be able to make sure that everyone, regardless of physical ability, could get on a bike that is suited to their body and their needs. This would open up for more teacher training, school participation incentives, updated curriculum and school kits, and just developing teams of engaged volunteers. So we think there's a great opportunity to expand this. We would love to do that, and we would just need some budgeting down the road to make that happen.
Is there an electric bike with 3 wheels?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like we just got a new, I don't think it's an electric bike though. We just got some new adaptive bikes, but there probably are. I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
No problem.
So just to summarize kind of the status of this project, we continue to manage and run the program and curriculum. VTrans has been providing the funding, which will need either renewal or potentially expansion.
There are about $1,500 new of them available.
They do have one.
Motion ordering.
Don't go there.
Don't forget the rebate program.
Be quiet.
I'm being quiet.
He's trying hard. I know what you're gonna say.
I like my role
Be
here.
very well behaved. Me too.
Baz is old enough, he needs one. He's gonna say that. Go ahead.
So the last program that I want to just expand upon is our Bike Smart program. It's really phenomenal. And this is a complete bike skill education program for children ages 5 and up. It's based on a game-rich bike skills curriculum that we and the Center for Health and Learning developed, and is made possible by, we have a fleet of 3 20-foot trailers, and they have everything an instructor would need to use to teach children how to ride, to be confident, competent bicycle riders. So it is filled with 30+ kids bikes in a variety of sizes, training materials, helmets, helmet disinfectant, tools, safety handouts for family. So currently, and this is where it gets a little awkward, is we drive those trailers around and drop them off and then have to drive them around to different schools, which works. It's a little bit of a logistical situation, but through that, we currently serve 40 to 50 schools per year at about 10,000 children each year. And this started in 2011. And since that time, my staff who run this program let me know that we have served over 83,000 children in teaching them how to ride a bike, which is pretty phenomenal, in all 14 counties, 130 towns, 211 schools and camps. So a lot of kids in Vermont have learned to ride a bike safely.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
Public doesn't know that, yeah.
It's so exciting. And, you know, as children, what you learn, hopefully, and learn and remember, we carry through as safe users as adults as well. So this is a program that we would really love to see expanded. And this is where we'd love to get a little creative with either the current model and continuing the funding for our current kind of us shuffling trailers around, or what I think is really exciting is potentially is having the school districts own a trailer of their own that they could shuffle among their own schools, and then we still provide the curriculum and training. So it means us doing a little less van driving around the state and the bicycles being more readily available for more schools within their own district or within the county.
How are you
Anyway.
funded, Christina? Where's it funded?
So that's coming through through VTrans, through the, remind me, through the Safe Routes to School federal funding that gets put to, this is where I'm learning the logistics of all that. John, Kevin, can you help me out? Or John?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, some of that funding is coming through the, it was basically the remaining Safe Routes to School funding that we had from when that program was a federally funded program. If I remember right, there was maybe 5 years ago, there was some one-time grant or funding that was provided to Local Motion to add at least one of the trailers and to outfit it.
That's right. So I think,
Yeah, because it was more of like a one, as opposed to ongoing like programming, it needed some.
But their total budget, Local Motion total budget.
oh, our total budget is coming from a mixture of some of these grants through VTrans, through Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, through the highway safety thing. So that's about a third of our budget. A third of our budget is actually income revenue from our trail side rentals and from other services that we provide, like bicycle parking at events.
Okay.
And then another third are through donations and sponsors.
Okay.
Yeah. So about a third of our funding is through grants.
Okay.
So we would love to, Bike Smart is just one of those that we would love to see expand. And this is something where, again, the current funding is expiring this coming December. So that we'll work with our VTrans folks to find out whether this is through some of the new federal infrastructure dollars or other pieces of how and where this is best suited to sit in the funding model. And I do have this, all of these kind of, at least of the grant funded support that has come through on a printed out version for ease of viewing. for you all as just a summary of those 5 programs that I mentioned today. And I will just close by saying, thank you again for your time, your questions, and just remind you that safety really is front and center of our work at Local Motion. And I look forward to continuing to work with you all and with our partners at VTrans to have everybody out there having fun and being safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have there's a continuation after our break. Just anybody else coming for this or just?
This is us.
We had it.
Yeah,
Okay, well, good.
Okay.
Well, good. We're good to get through it.
you're welcome.
Well, thank you very much for a good overview. And it's learning something every time we have this. I think it's going to be great in the end when everybody gets together and finds out what they can do and can't do. It's just like I said, since day one, there's going to be more of them on the highway, which is good news. And bicyclists in general, we want to make sure it's safe. And you see a lot of conflict between motorists out there and bikes. And, want to make sure that they're following the law also. And
I just think for the millions of dollars that we're spending on bicycles and to get the usages more and to make the roadways safe for bicycle use, that this is just a good discussion to have. It really is. So.
all right, anything else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unplug it.
Our next item here this morning is going to be 10:42. We get those folks a little earlier on the mileage. See if we can get them, we could get them in 15 minutes. That'd be great. Take a break and then.
Very nice to meet you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for hosting us today.